In the Hermetic principles, they talk about the law of cause and effects. The law of cause and effects is what sets every thought into action, what sets our process of thinking into action. Thinking belongs to the cause. We are thinking in accordance to synchronicity. Synchronization is actually a part of the process which was thought in the first place. Now, that thought doesn't necessarily mean that it's our own thought. So there are many thoughts which are lingering the astral, the physical plane and the mental plane. Now, which one of these thoughts are yours? The identification of knowing which thoughts are yours is actually going into the soul. We have an instinct of thinking. When we think, we think instinctively in relations to what we want to create. We watch a film, we want to be a star. We watch a a song on TV, we wanna start music. Sometimes you gotta ask yourself, are these your thoughts or are these causations of a higher mind which is actually leading you onto those things? Now, what do we mean by a higher mind? This could be someone's idea which has induced itself into you. There are different forms of actions and reactions. The cause could also be due to a karmic issue. It could also be to a karmic pattern which actually led you into this life, and then that life now is guiding you to proceed into becoming a musical artist or a film producer or a paintist, whatever it is. That is the causation which lead you onto it. Now, there is no effect without a cause. Now, the universe began with a cause. In order for an effect to begin, then the cause has to be. So the cause itself was the encapsulation of what was. Now, the cause from the universal principle, which is divine by nature, is what it is. This is why causation in reality is a feminine force, meaning that the feminine principle, which is really chaos, is actually in a sense of a cause. Now, how do we understand and identify that? We just have to observe how a woman reacts. A woman reacts very instinctively based upon, should I say emotionally, based upon how she responds to nature. She responds like nature. She responds like a mother, which is a caring emotional form. Now, that emotional form is actually a trigger, which is from the earth itself, vibrating on a source field. Now, this means that every cause is actually feminine. Every action, every effect is masculine. Now, I'm talking about the terms, not the actual. Now, I'm also talking about the way we respond as human nature. There is masculine and feminine if we understand the nature of it, not the actual feminine or female and the actual male. Now, going into this now, let's touch a bit deeper into what I'm trying to say. The cause is very important because the soul has to act instinctively to choose the right cause to lead him to his right or her right destiny. Because if the wrong cause is used and is actually biologically modified by a computer, TV, laptop, or something that is away from its natural nature, like working for a 9-to-5 job that it does not belong to your soul's journey, then the cause becomes lost, and then you are following a you are following a byproduct, a second-hand experience of what you're supposed to be doing in the first place. So this means that the cause and effect have to be led through the actual real cause, which is the mental plane, which is governing causality, the causal world, as we would call it. The mental plane is actually where we are really supposed to be working from, not from an emotional but a responsible instinctive soul level, which is connected to the mental plane. And that mental plane is the law where we create based upon reasoning. Now, how do we find these specific karmic patterns which actually led us into this life and caused certain things which happen into this life? How do we find those points? Where do we begin looking? We have to look inside the soul. We have to seek inside an astral birth chart. We have to look inside psychic visions. We have to meditate. You know, different people have different ways of accessing these points. By identifying yourself, you could also write your traits. Your negative traits will be identified within you as you get on about the day. So you may be a very angry person. You may be a very sexual person. You may be a very active person, creative person. Where does that stem from? Where did you embedded those, or where did you might have certain talents that no one has? You know, you might be able to do things that people can't do. And those things, you're supposed to link them and write them down and identify which are your weaknesses and which are your strengths. Always work on your weaknesses, because your weaknesses will strengthen your strengths, and your strengths will become even more stronger. So it's all about identifying where the soul begins and the soul's journey. What is the soul coming to do in this earth plane? What is it coming to learn? What is it coming to teach? What is it coming to encapsulate? All of those things stem within the soul. And the soul is what? The soul, really, a lot of people get confused about what the soul is. The soul is simply the emotional comprehension that one has understood through past lives. The soul is what we feel is right. The soul is that essence, you know, the soul is that essence of what we have encapsulated through past lives. So that's what the soul really is. It's that essence, is that feeling, is to be able to integrate everything and feel it to an extent. And beyond that, the soul is an awareness which is very consciously aware. The more awareness you have within yourself, the more you're able to exercise that soul. The soul can be lost by losing yourself in others. When you seek others, you actually are losing yourself. Seeking your identical self actually brings you closer to your soul, and thus brings you closer to your mental body. Your mental body is the higher aspect. You start mentally traveling when you start identifying and reasoning and understanding what the soul is actually seeking. So in that case, now you can lose your soul as well as gain a soul. Every human being has the possibility to have a soul and to lose a soul, and that is through either losing self and constantly being away from the self, like using your mobile phone on the train, on the bus, and not interacting with your inner self instead. Now that's what insane is, to interact with your inner self, but in the productive way. So in that case, you are in tune with yourself, you are in yourself, and you are communicating with your highest self. That is the point that we are getting through here. So the key is to become inwards. Am I in my body? Am I consciously aware? I am thinking. What is it that I'm thinking? The thinking is actually the other side. The awareness is where you want to be. So let's get back to cause. Because the cause leads us to an effect. And this is how magicians identify the process of thinking right. The law of attraction doesn't encapsulate and doesn't actually tell us the cause. Because there are karmic issues which one may have, that is why certain manifestations that do not happen based upon the karmic patterns from a past life, and then the soul wanting to experience something rather than you thinking that you need to get something else. So identify your soul pattern, because that's the key. Your soul wants to learn something for it to move on. We need to evolve as a human race. So in that case, we need to go through certain pains and certain traumas sometimes. That's how it goes. But yes, don't forget to visit my website, organ-energy. You know, it's high there, it's right there. Do check it out. Let us know what you think and get into causation. And through that, how do you get into causation? Through meditation. Simple. Observation of your thoughts. Being consciously aware of your internal self. Identifying how the self is functioning. Through yoga postures, you can identify and start touching into your subtle bodies. And then move on from there. Thank you.
Energy.